Have you ever stood in your kitchen, holding a stick of butter in one hand and a bottle of olive oil in the other, wondering, which one is actually better for my kidneys now that I'm over 60? It's a question many older adults ask. For years, we've heard simple messages: butter is unhealthy, olive oil is healthy. But if you've followed nutrition news for any length of time, you've probably noticed the advice seems to change every few years. So what's the real answer? As it turns out, we've been asking the wrong question. If your goal is to support healthy kidneys as you age, the most important issue isn't choosing a good fat instead of a bad one. It's understanding how your everyday food choices influence the systems your kidneys depend on over time. And that's a very different conversation. A silent change many people don't notice. Many adults first begin thinking about their kidneys after a routine blood test. Perhaps their doctor mentions that their kidney function is slightly lower than last year. Maybe their creatinine has increased a little. Or their estimated GFR isn't quite what it used to be. The surprising part is that many people feel completely normal. That's because kidney problems often develop quietly over many years before noticeable symptoms appear. Instead of asking, "What food damaged my kidneys?" researchers often ask a different question: what long-term habits place extra stress on the kidneys? That shift in thinking changes everything. Here's the fact that surprises most people. Before we compare butter and olive oil, there's one important fact to understand. Your kidneys don't actually process the butter or olive oil you eat. That may sound surprising. If that's true, why do kidney specialists, cardiologists, and dietitians care so much about which fat you choose? Because the answer has very little to do with the kidneys themselves. It has everything to do with the tiny blood vessels that keep your kidneys functioning every minute of every day. Your kidneys depend on a constant supply of healthy blood flow to filter waste and maintain the delicate balance of fluids and minerals throughout your body. When those blood vessels stay healthy, the kidneys are better supported. When they're placed under years of strain from conditions such as high blood pressure or poor cardiovascular health, the kidneys often feel the effects as well. That's the first key idea to remember. The type of fat you eat doesn't work directly on your kidneys. Instead, it may influence the cardiovascular system that helps keep them healthy. Looking at the bigger picture, this is why doctors rarely think about the kidneys alone. They also pay attention to blood pressure, heart health, blood sugar, and the condition of your blood vessels. These systems are closely connected. Supporting one often helps support the others. Today's nutrition research reflects that same idea. Instead of asking whether one meal is healthy or unhealthy, researchers look at the eating patterns people follow for years. Because your body doesn't judge your health by one breakfast or one slice of buttered toast. It responds to the habits you repeat hundreds and eventually thousands of times throughout your life. Healthy aging isn't built on perfection. It's built on consistent choices that gently move you in the right direction. So if your kidneys don't directly process the fat you eat, why has extra virgin olive oil become one of the most studied foods in healthy aging research? The answer isn't simply because it contains a different type of fat. There's another reason, one involving naturally occurring compounds that researchers have been investigating for decades. And once you understand that, you'll begin to see why this discussion has never really been about choosing between butter and olive oil. It's about choosing an eating pattern that quietly supports both your kidneys and your heart for years to come. At the end of the last chapter, we arrived at an important question. If your kidneys don't directly process the butter or olive oil you eat, why has extra virgin olive oil become one of the most researched foods in healthy aging? The answer isn't that olive oil is a miracle food. And it certainly isn't because butter is automatically harmful. The real difference lies in the overall eating pattern each one tends to support. It's not about avoiding fat for many years, people were told to avoid fat whenever possible. Today, researchers see the picture differently. Healthy fats play important roles throughout the body. They help build cell membranes, support the absorption of certain vitamins, and contribute to many normal biological functions. The more useful question isn't, should I eat fat? It's, what kind of fat do I eat most often? Extra virgin olive oil is naturally rich in monounsaturated fat, while butter contains a higher proportion of saturated fat. Current evidence suggests that replacing some saturated fat with unsaturated fat is associated with healthier cholesterol levels and better cardiovascular health. Notice the key word, replacing. Not adding more fat. Not banning butter forever. Simply replacing one everyday habit with another. That small shift, repeated over years, may have a much greater impact than most people realize. Here's the first reward. Your kidneys aren't responding to today's breakfast. They're responding to the eating pattern you've built over decades. The hidden advantage of extra virgin olive oil but healthy fat is only part of the story. Here's where things become much more interesting. Researchers became interested in extra virgin olive oil because it contains naturally occurring plant compounds called polyphenols. You don't need to remember the name. Just remember the idea. These natural compounds remain in high-quality extra virgin olive oil because it's minimally processed. Scientists continue studying them because they may help support healthy blood vessels and the body's natural response to oxidative stress and inflammation. Notice the wording. They may help support normal body functions. They are not medicines, and they don't treat kidney disease. That's exactly why the research is so valuable. It focuses on long-term health rather than quick fixes. Here's another important takeaway. The biggest difference between butter and extra virgin olive oil isn't only the type of fat. It's that olive oil naturally brings additional compounds that researchers believe may contribute to healthy aging. Why blood vessels matter so much. Let's connect everything together. Imagine your heart as the pump. Your blood vessels are the pipes, and your kidneys are the filters. If the pump works efficiently and the pipes remain flexible, the filters receive the steady blood flow they need. But if the blood vessels gradually become stiff or damaged over many years, the kidneys must work under less favorable conditions. That's why protecting your heart and protecting your kidneys are often part of the same conversation. They're connected by the same circulation system. This is one reason olive oil appears so often in heart-healthy eating patterns. Not because it works directly on the kidneys, but because it supports the systems that help keep them functioning well. It's never just about one food. One of the best examples of this idea is the Mediterranean-style eating pattern. People often assume olive oil is the secret. In reality, olive oil is only one piece of the puzzle. These eating patterns also include plenty of vegetables, beans, whole grains, fruit, fish, and nuts. Olive oil simply becomes the primary everyday cooking fat. Butter isn't necessarily eliminated. It just plays a smaller role. That reflects one of the biggest lessons in nutrition science. Healthy eating isn't about finding one perfect food. It's about building a pattern of choices that work together over time. So where does this leave butter? Should you stop buying it altogether? Not necessarily. Current evidence doesn't suggest that occasional butter automatically harms healthy kidneys. The more meaningful question is this: which fat becomes your everyday habit? Because when researchers compare long-term eating patterns, that's where the biggest differences begin to appear. And in the next chapter, we'll compare butter and olive oil side by side, from blood vessels and cholesterol to cooking, flavor, and everyday use, to see why one is generally considered the better everyday choice, while the other can still have a place in a balanced diet. Now it's time to answer the question that brought us here. When butter and olive oil are compared side by side, which one is generally the better choice for kidney health after 60? The answer isn't based on one study or one headline. It's based on decades of research looking at how different eating patterns influence the health of the heart, blood vessels, and, indirectly, the kidneys. And the findings are more balanced than many people expect. Blood vessels come first. The first comparison isn't about your kidneys. It's about the blood vessels that keep them alive. Every kidney contains millions of tiny filtering units that depend on a steady supply of oxygen-rich blood. Researchers have consistently found that eating patterns higher in unsaturated fats, such as those found in extra virgin olive oil, are associated with better cardiovascular health and healthier blood vessels than patterns high in saturated fat. That doesn't mean butter suddenly damages your kidneys. It means that if you're choosing one cooking fat for everyday use, olive oil generally fits better into an eating pattern that supports long-term vascular health. And healthier blood vessels often mean better support for the organs that rely on them. The difference isn't just the fat at this point. Many people assume the discussion is simply about saturated fat versus unsaturated fat. But here's the surprising part. Researchers believe one of olive oil's biggest advantages isn't just the fat. It comes packaged with naturally occurring plant compounds. These compounds, known as polyphenols, continue to be studied because they may help support the body's natural defenses against oxidative stress and promote normal blood vessel function. Think of it this way. Butter provides energy and flavor. Extra virgin olive oil provides those things too, but it also naturally contains additional compounds that may offer extra support as part of an overall healthy eating pattern. That's one reason experts often recommend extra virgin olive oil instead of highly refined varieties whenever practical. What about cooking? One of the most common myths is that olive oil should never be heated. Fortunately, current evidence tells a more reassuring story. Extra virgin olive oil performs well during many everyday cooking methods, including sautéing vegetables, cooking eggs, preparing fish, and roasting foods at typical home cooking temperatures. Like any cooking fat, it shouldn't be repeatedly overheated until it smokes heavily. The same advice applies to butter. The goal isn't to cook at extreme temperatures. It's to use healthy cooking methods most of the time. For the average home kitchen, extra virgin olive oil remains one of the most practical and well-studied choices. Does butter still have a place? After everything we've discussed, you might expect the answer to be never eat butter. But that's not what current evidence suggests. Butter can still be part of an overall healthy diet when enjoyed occasionally. The key is proportion. Think of olive oil as your everyday choice. Think of butter as something to enjoy from time to time, rather than the foundation of every meal. That approach is realistic, sustainable, and consistent with the way many nutrition experts encourage people to eat. Healthy habits don't require perfection. They require consistency. The biggest lesson so far, if there's one message that stands out from all the research, it's this: no single food protects your kidneys. Not olive oils. Not butters. What matters most is the pattern your meals create over months and years. A kitchen built around vegetables, beans, whole grains, fruit, fish, and healthy fats naturally looks very different from one built around heavily processed foods. Olive oil fits comfortably into that healthier pattern. That's why it continues to appear in dietary recommendations around the world. Not because it's a miracle ingredient, but because it supports the kind of eating habits associated with healthier aging. So by now, the answer to our original question is becoming much clearer. For most adults over 60, extra virgin olive oil is generally the better everyday choice, while butter can still be enjoyed occasionally as part of a balanced diet. But knowing which fat to choose is only part of the story. The next question is just as important. How can you actually use olive oil in your own kitchen without making healthy eating feel complicated? Sometimes the smallest everyday habits end up making the biggest difference over time. By now, we've answered the biggest question. For most adults over 60, extra virgin olive oil is generally the better everyday choice when the goal is to support long-term heart, blood vessel, and kidney health. But research doesn't stop with what you eat. It also looks at how those choices become part of your daily routine. Because healthy aging isn't built by one perfect meal. It's built by habits that are simple enough to repeat for years. Make olive oil your everyday default. Think about the meals you prepare most often. Scrambled eggs, roasted vegetables, grilled fish, a salad at lunch. These ordinary meals have a much greater impact on your long-term health than holiday dinners or special occasions. One of the easiest changes is to let extra virgin olive oil become your default cooking fat for everyday use. Not because butter is forbidden, but because replacing butter with olive oil more often aligns with the eating patterns that researchers consistently associate with better cardiovascular health. Small changes repeated regularly often matter more than dramatic changes that don't last. Enjoy butter without feeling guilty. Healthy eating should never feel like a list of foods you're no longer allowed to enjoy. A slice of warm bread with butter at a family gathering. A favorite recipe that's been passed down through generations. Or a special holiday meal. These moments are part of a balanced life. Current evidence doesn't suggest that occasional butter will undo an otherwise healthy eating pattern. The real question isn't, did I eat butter today? It's, what does my diet usually look like? That shift in perspective helps remove unnecessary guilt while encouraging healthier everyday choices. Don't forget the bigger picture. One bottle of olive oil can't protect your kidneys on its own. It works best as part of an overall healthy lifestyle. Researchers consistently emphasize eating patterns rich in vegetables, fruits, beans and legumes, whole grains, fish, and other lean protein sources, nuts and seeds, along with staying physically active, getting adequate sleep, and working with your healthcare provider to manage conditions such as high blood pressure, diabetes, or high cholesterol. In other words, olive oil isn't the whole strategy. It's one important piece of a much larger picture. Store it properly. Another simple habit is storing olive oil correctly. Extra virgin olive oil is a fresh food. Over time, heat, light, and air gradually reduce its quality. Keeping it in a cool, dark cabinet and closing the bottle tightly after each use helps preserve its flavor and many of its naturally occurring compounds. You don't need the most expensive bottle on the shelf. A good quality extra virgin olive oil that you use regularly is usually a much better investment than an expensive bottle that sits unopened for months. Consistency matters more than perfection. One final kitchen mindset, perhaps the most valuable lesson from today's discussion, has nothing to do with olive oil or butter. It's about how we think about food. Instead of asking, is this food good or bad? Try asking, does this choice move my overall eating pattern in a healthier direction? That's the question researchers ask. And it's a question that leads to practical, sustainable decisions rather than unnecessary restrictions. Healthy aging isn't about chasing the latest nutrition trend. It's about making thoughtful choices that you can comfortably live with year after year. We've covered the science. We've compared butter and olive oil. And we've explored how small, realistic habits can support your health over time. So before we finish, let's bring everything together with the 3 most important lessons to remember, simple ideas you can take with you every time you walk into your kitchen. Let's finish by returning to the question we asked at the very beginning. Olive oil or butter, which is better for kidney health after 60? After looking at the science, the answer is probably more balanced than many people expected. It's not about declaring one food good and the other bad. It's about choosing the eating pattern that best supports your body over the long term. If you remember only 3 things from today's video, let them be these. Lesson 1: your kidneys depend on healthy blood vessels. One of the biggest surprises in today's discussion is that your kidneys don't directly process the butter or olive oil you eat. Instead, they depend on a healthy cardiovascular system to deliver the blood they need every minute of every day. That's why doctors often focus on blood pressure, cholesterol, blood sugar, and heart health when talking about protecting the kidneys. Supporting these systems together is one of the most effective long-term approaches to healthy aging. Lesson 2. Let olive oil be your everyday choice. Current evidence generally suggests that extra virgin olive oil is the better everyday cooking fat for most adults over 60. Not because it's a miracle food. Not because it can prevent or treat kidney disease on its own, but because it's rich in monounsaturated fat and naturally occurring plant compounds, and it fits into eating patterns consistently associated with better cardiovascular health. Butter doesn't have to disappear from your kitchen. It can still be enjoyed occasionally as part of a balanced diet. The goal isn't perfection. It's choosing olive oil more often than butter in your everyday routine. Lesson 3. Healthy aging is built on patterns. No single ingredient determines your future health. Not butters, not olive oils, and not any so-called superfood. What matters most is the pattern created by your daily habits. Preparing more meals at home. Eating plenty of vegetables, beans, fruits, whole grains, and fish. Staying physically active. Managing conditions like high blood pressure or diabetes with your healthcare team. And making choices that are realistic enough to maintain for years. Those habits work together to support not only your kidneys, but your heart and overall well-being as well. A final thought: if today's video has one central message, it's this: the healthiest choice isn't just about calories or taste. It's about choosing the right fat in the right way as part of an overall eating pattern that supports both your kidneys and your heart as you age. That's why this discussion has never really been about butter versus olive oil. It's about building a lifestyle that quietly supports your health, one meal at a time. Every trip to the kitchen is another opportunity to make a small choice. On its own, that choice may seem insignificant. But over the course of months and years, those small decisions can add up to meaningful changes in your overall health. Before you go, I'd love to hear from you. Which do you use more often in your kitchen, olive oil or butter? Share your experience or favorite healthy cooking tip in the comments below. Your ideas may help someone else who is trying to make healthier choices after 60. If you found this video helpful, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe for more evidence-based videos on healthy aging, kidney health, heart health, and practical nutrition. We post new videos every week to help you make informed, realistic decisions for a healthier future. Thank you so much for watching, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video.